The internet can be a labyrinth of disturbing tales that border on unthinkable. Therein lies its chilling allure. Today we turn to Reddit, a platform that teems with unsettling narratives submitted by atypical storytellers. Brace yourselves as we dive into 3 such tales. Accounts so terrifying that skepticism about their authenticity is understandable, yet the fear they inspire is very much real. Let's tread this eerie path together, enlightened by the flicker of our digital candle. Number 1. Haunting echo from the baby monitor. It was just an ordinary evening in the small suburban townhouse. Dinner dishes had been cleared, and the soft hum of the dishwasher suggested a sense of normalcy, a rhythmic comfort in the otherwise silent house. The young couple, exhausted after a long day, had tucked their 6-month-old baby into bed and retreated to their own room for the night. It had been a peaceful routine until the baby monitor came to life with a chilling echo. The initial sound was just a tiny whimper, a sound any parent would recognize as their child stirring in their slumber. But as the minutes ticked by, the murmurs became more substantial, evolving into a terrified wailing, then abruptly ceasing. The parents, now panic-stricken, rushed into the baby's room, only to find it peacefully asleep. Confused yet relieved, they returned to their room. Their hearts had barely settled back into their chests when the monitor crackled again. Low voices murmuring in conversation, barely audible over the static. These were not comforting noises you would expect to emit from a baby's room, more like an adult conversation being held in hushed whispers. They stormed into the nursery, their fear replaced with steel resolve, ready to face any intruder who dared breach their sanctuary. The nursery once again stood quiet, bathed in the gentle glow of the nightlight. No intruder, no signs of any disturbance, just their baby sound asleep. After a long, restless night, they sought professional help. Cops were called. The house was searched, but yielded no positive results. The house was free of uninvited guests, soundproof evidence, or any reasonable explanation for the strange occurrences. Then came the suggestion of installing a video monitor. The couple, tired and desperate for answers, agreed. The day passed without incident until nightfall. The monitor crackled to life again, back with those disturbing whispers. The couple immediately tuned into the video monitor. The baby was sound asleep, the room vacant. Except this time, the baby's blanket was slowly being tugged off, starting at the foot of the crib, retreating by itself as if drawn by invisible hands. In utter disbelief, they watched the blanket skid across the room, stop abruptly, then drift back to the crib, covering the baby with a meticulous slow crawl. They couldn't believe what they were witnessing. Their baby seemingly coddled by an unseen entity. As they watched, paralyzed with fear, the whispers on the audio monitor grew into an audible lullaby, soothing yet unnerving, a comforting lull for their child sung by an invisible force. Their nightmare was not yet over, their house not entirely theirs, and every night when the monitor would crackle to life, so would their fear of those unsettling echoes from the baby's room. Number 2, surely not alone, the invisible roommate. Moving into a new house is usually an exciting endeavor filled with endless possibilities. For one Reddit user, who we will call Sam, this thrilling undertaking quickly morphed into an unsettling ordeal straight out of a horror film. It started off perfectly normal. Sam had moved in to cut costs, sharing the space with 2 other housemates. The house was spacious, located in a reputable neighborhood, and best of all, affordable. Except there was another added feature to the house, one that wasn't listed on the rental ad. Knowing the bothers of adjustment, Sam was not fazed when he heard inexplicable noises on the first few nights after moving in. The house had wooden floors, and he rationalized that old houses like his often creaked due to temperature changes. That was until the sounds became all too specific. The sounds of a chair dragging across the room, faint footsteps tiptoeing around, a tap being turned on and off, and the most disturbing of all, the sounds of soft breathing. The eerie silence of the night was consistently broken by these chilling disturbances. Sam decided to discuss the issue with his new housemates, expecting them to poke fun at his suspicions. To Sam's surprise and unease, his housemates shared their edge-of-your-seat experiences too. The anticipation was frightening, the reality even more so. Figuring safety in numbers, they decided to investigate together. They conducted their vigil late into the night, sitting silently and waiting. Hours crept by, but there was not a peep. Just as they were about to give up and call it a night, they heard the soft breathing again. It echoed around the room, growing louder and more tangible. They froze, stricken with a dread that blanketed the room. As they sat, breaths held in fear, the unprecedented happened. In the dim light, they saw a mug on the coordinated kitchenette jitter as if nudged by an unseen force. It was as if they had an invisible roommate who was more nocturnal than any of them. Fueled by fear, yet resolved to put an end to it, they checked each nook and corner, but found nothing. No secret hideouts, no hidden doors, nothing to explain the happenings. After weeks of sleepless nights and scary encounters, Sam finally moved out, leaving behind the invisible roommate. Even today, he wonders whether it was an association with the unknown or just a wild stretch of their imagination. The mystery of the invisible roommate remains, a chilling reminder of that spine-tingling chapter in their lives. But one thing is certain, the ordeal etched a haunting memory, leaving Sam with a tale whose every mention sends a shiver down his spine. Number 3. Terrified Realtor's Mansion Experience. During my initial career as a realtor, I experienced numerous unusual incidents. Yet none haunted me as the one I encountered in an old mansion on the outskirts of town. Ostensibly, this affluent villa was secluded, with alluring vintage architecture that appeared tranquil and serene. The mansion exuded an overwhelming feeling of cold, causing an uncanny shudder to trickle down my spine as I stepped inside for the first time. Even though it was under the bright daylight, it felt like I had stepped into a different world. The mansion was eerily quiet, filled with dusty, untouched furniture. The air around seemed to swirl in a peculiar pattern, carrying an unspoken sadness and odd melancholy. As I ventured further into the house, I distinctly heard voices. At first, I brushed it off as echoes or my imagination. However, as I continued my documentation process, I clearly heard whispers floating in the air, saying words in an unknown language and laughter that curdled my blood. Down to the basement, the atmosphere shifted more drastic. The air was heavier, and the temperature dropped dramatically. My torch buzzed erratically, casting doubtful shadows against the damp walls. Hesitantly, I opened the basement door, only to face absolute darkness and silence, except for an old mirror hanging on the farthest wall reflecting my terrified face. As I navigated the cavernous expanse, my ears picked up shuffling sounds in the dark. Every instinct screamed to bolt, yet I stood rooted, gripping the torch tightly. The sound got louder, taking the form of footsteps approaching me. In fear, I shone my torch towards the origin of the sound, but nothing was there except the dancing shadows. Yet the footsteps grew closer until, in horror, I felt a cold, unseen hand grazingly touch my arm. With a scream lodged in my throat, I guessed how the mansion gained its deserted status. As soon as I gathered courage and turned to run, I passed the mirror and froze. In the reflection, I not only saw my terrified face, but standing at a short distance behind me, a hazy figure mirrored, its eyes hollow and face twisted into a horrific grin. My heart pounded in my chest as I dashed through the mansion, its laughter echoing in my ears even after I reached the safety of my car. That cursed place, with its chilling echoes and terrifying presence, still invades my sleep, reducing it to haunted nightmares. I am a living testament, proof of the feathery whispers claiming that mansion is haunted, and let me tell you, those stories are horribly accurate. We've spun through some truly chilling tales tonight, all pulled from the darkest corners of Reddit. If the fear-inducing echo, the invisible roommate, or the creepy mansion experience gave you a decent shiver, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to our channel for more bedtime horror stories. We hope you'll join us again for another round of terrifying tales that'll have you checking under your bed and into your closet before you sleep. Until our paths cross again in this sphere of the spooky and unknown, thank you for watching and pleasant nightmares.